Yes, welcome back to the channel. And as usual, really appreciate those who subscribe to the channel, those who like and share the video, and of course, those who share their opinion in the comment section or share additional information or share their concern in the comment section. As usual, you're all much appreciated. Now, today I want to look at an article that I've read a few days ago, right? And the article says that the Cavalier Football Club, which is run by Mr. Rudolph Speid, have recently acquired the Turner's Oval in Chapelton, Clarendon. Now, once I read that article, it raised eyebrows, and not just for me, but for anybody who have been following these stories. And the reason why this article raised eyebrows for two reasons. One, we are aware that the Turner's Oval is currently utilized by the Chapelton Maroon Premier League team as their home team. And that the Chapelton Maroon team is run by Phoenix Academy, which is owned by Mr. Craig Butler. And the second reason is anybody who have been following the story know that these two gentlemen are at loggerheads for many years. So when the article states that Mr. Speid is acquiring the property that is currently being utilized by Mr. Butler, that raised a lot of eyebrows. And of course, it will have divided opinions along the sides of the fans who have supported each side. And that's okay. I mean, if you support your side and you want to defend your side, then that's fine. But as usual, if you realize by now, I like to stay neutral. So what I'll be doing is to first, what I'm going to do is to share the information that is given by both sides. So I'm not going to depend on a third party, right? I'm only going to share the information that is out there, that is shared by both parties. And then I'm going to look at what are the questions that arise from the information that is shared by both parties and what are the possible concerns, right? So because I've read all the articles from both sides and I've watched videos from both sides pertaining to this information, to this situation. So I'm only going to share what they have shared in the public, right? And then based on what they have shared, we're going to look at what possible questions we should be asking coming out of this situation, right? So I'm booting up my laptop. So as soon as I've done that, I'm going to share directly what each persons have said in the public, and then from that, we're going to raise concern. So we're going to start first with Mr. Speid, right? And this is what Mr. Speid said based on the articles, is that his club was looking around for a property of their own for a long time now, right? And he said that the Turner Oval was the only available venue in the country that was ready to be utilized right away. And there is no more stadium that is up for sale in Jamaica that could be purchased and be ready for use immediately, right? He also said that when he was asked that since he has acquired the Turner's Oval, which is in Clarendon, and his club, Cavaliers, is based in Kingston and St. Andrew, which is a part of the CASAFA, right? So he's asked if he's going to switch from CASAFA to Clarendon FA since the stadium is in Clarendon. His reply to that is no. There will be no switch but he said that his club will remain in the CASAFA, but his club might play there because it's not a must for his club to be in one place. So that is what he says. He also went on to explain that his club have many teams such as the under 13, the under 20, the men and the women team. So because of that, he's sure that the Turner Oval will be utilized, right, by his club. In addition, he indicates that the acquisition of this Turner's Oval is an indication of the stride that his club has made over many years. He said that his club becoming one of the first team to own properties such as having their own club bus, owning the resident for players, and then now they have own a field of their own, right? So when asked what are his plans for the property, this is what he says. The plan is to build a commercial hub which will include an apartment for officials to stay when they visit. And that will include a food court and a leisure area for adults as well as one for children. Along with that, he said that there will be 2 small fields where people can pay to use and play at any hours of the day, right? And he says that the plan is that he wanted this to be one of the best venue in the country. And along with that, there will be a naming right for the stadium, and billboards will be erected around the stadium, and there will be a complex with a VIP area, right? And that one of the plan he has for this property is that it will use as a private football field where people can pay for international club matches. So that is what Mr. Speid has said. That is his side of the story. That is what is out there in the public, right? So now let's take Mr. Craig Butler side of the story, right? He said that one of the first that he said is that there is something that is deceptive about the purchase of the property by Mr. Speid. But he declined to go into details because he said since it's a legal matter, his attorneys will speak on the matter in the future. So he doesn't give any details as to why he thinks it is a deceptive purchase, right? He also said that the property was there for years and no one was interested in the property, right? And as soon as he acquired the Chapelton Maroon, right, he said that the team didn't have a permanent home. And so him along with his CEO and other officials of the club did, after they acquired Chapelton Maroon, they started upgrading the facility, right? So they are the one who allowed the facility to be where it is now, right? And that, he says, started back from 2025, where they fix up the facility and now have the Maroon, Chapelton Maroon has that era, that property as their permanent football home, right? For playing their home matches card. Before they didn't have one, right? Now, he said that while he was in the process of acquiring the property, Mr. Speid went behind his back and swooped up the property, right? Those are his words, right? He also said that when he was in the process of acquiring the property, because according to him, he has started the process already, right? But there is 2 main reasons why he was not able to close the sale. And those 2 main reasons are, he said that he had to undergo a major operation, which would take a physical toll on his body. So he was advised to rest, right? And he said that during that time, he had asked the owner of the property for an extension in closing the deal. The second reason he gave is that he said that he had paid $7 million to Cavalier for the purchase of the player Denzel Mitchell, right, whom he acquired from Cavalier. And he said that because that player was unhappy at Cavalier, he decided to fork out $7 million to purchase that player from Mr. Speid Club. In addition, which is interesting, Mr. Butler expressed an willingness to coexist and hope it can be a friendly rivalry in the case of AC Milan and Inter Milan. And those of you who have followed Italian football knows that AC Milan and Inter Milan share the same stadium, right? So now that we have looked at both sides of the story that is shared by both persons as out in the media, now this is where we want to start asking questions that may arise from what we know so far from these 2 persons, right? So this is what we are going to be doing now. So we're going to break down based on both sides of the story that we know. Right? We're going to ask ourselves some questions. Right? And these questions arise based on what both persons have said so far. Right? So here is where we go into the questions. All right? So the first question is this. Was Mr. Speid aware that Mr. Butler was trying to acquire the property? The answer to that can be yes or no. But I'm going to be honest with you. I doubt that Mr. Speid wasn't aware. I think he's fully aware of the possibility that Mr. Butler is trying to acquire the property. And this is why I say this. Because he's aware that Mr. Butler is currently utilizing the property for his team, for Chapelton Maroons. So if it is up for sale, then it is very likely that he would have known that Mr. Butler is trying to acquire the property, because why would Mr. Butler spend so much money trying to develop the property, or even if he didn't spend any money to develop the property, his team is currently utilizing as their home base for playing their Premier League matches. So even if he wasn't aware, by the simple fact that the thing is advertised, that would be one of the questions that he would ask. Why is Mr. Butler not trying to purchase the property? Or why not buy the property already? Or is he actively trying to acquire the property? Now, if he asked those questions and got the answer that he was looking for. Now, remember now, this is business. Right? He can still approach the owner for the property and make an offer. Right? And it's up to the owner who is gonna choose to go with. Right? So without having any internal information in terms of that, but just asking the question, is Mr. Speid aware? Yes, it is not impossible that he wasn't aware, but being that his rival is using the stadium, these would have been some of the questions that he would ask or consider. Why is he not buying the property, or if he's buying the property? So, and honestly, I believe that he should be aware, or he's aware that Mr. Butler is purchasing the property. But being aware that he's purchasing the property, right? It look away for him to still want to pursue the property, or if he have an agenda why he still want to purchase the property, knowing that his rival is actively trying to acquire the property. But that is not something that we have control over. You understand? And business is business. You understand? So that's the first question that we need to ask, if he was aware. Right? Now, the second question that we can ask is this. Was there a formal agreement or a written contract between Mr. Butler and the property owner? Because we keep forgetting this. I know that there's one person owner involved who is not mentioned, the property owner. Right? Now, did Mr. Butler have a formal agreement, or was just a verbal thing? Was there a written legal contract? Was there a binding agreement between Mr. Butler and the owner of the property? In terms of what was the arrangement between the two in terms of Mr. Butler trying to acquire the property? Was it just a word of mouth? Was it a friend thing? Or was there a legal binding contract between the two individuals, between the owner and Mr. Butler? So we have to ask that question, right? Because it is a legal binding contract between Mr. Butler and the owner. Then Mr. Butler is in good standing in terms of the law in preventing the purchase by Mr. Speid. But if it was just a word of mouth thing or a gentleman's agreement, right, I don't think it's going to stand up in the court. But we are not aware of the details of the agreement between Mr. Butler and the owner of the property. Right? But these are questions that must be asked. Right? What was the agreement between Mr. Butler and the owner? Was it a legal binding thing, or was it just a verbal thing, right? A gentleman's agreement, right? Those are the questions we ask. Those are the questions will determine where Mr. Butler will go from here in terms of the legal aspect of things, right? But we can't help but ask these questions, because getting the answer to these questions will give us a better understanding as to what is really going on behind Mr. Butler back in terms of Mr. Speid the swooping behind his back and acquire the property, right? What caused the owner to want to move from Mr. Butler and finalizing things with Mr. Speid, right? So how Mr. Butler move on from here is dependent on, I believe, because I'm not a lawyer, but it's common sense logics. How we move on from here from a legal standpoint, depending on what agreement, what contractual agreement did he have with the owner of the property. But we can't help but ask these questions though. Why, what sort of an agreement was there between the two individuals? The next question is, how Mr. Speid come by acquiring the property if Mr. Butler was in the process of acquiring the property? Did he outbid Mr. Butler? Did he offer more for the property than Mr. Butler was offering in an effort to sway the property owner into giving him the opportunity? Did he use the delay by Mr. Butler as an opportunity to swoop in and acquire the property? Or did he just decide that, listen, we're going to offer, we're going to outbid, or he found that there wasn't a formal agreement and decided to use this to his advantage to acquire the property? These are some of the concerns, just some of the questions that I personally am asking instead of just taking aside, right? Now, the next question to ask, because we can't leave the property owner out of this. Next question to ask, was the owner transparent between the two individuals? So he started out by agreeing to sell the property to Mr. Butler. When Mr. Speid decided to come in to the picture, did the owner say to Mr. Speid, listen, Mr. Butler is currently trying to acquire the property, and this is the arrangement we have with Mr. Butler, right? Did the owner look at Mr. Butler now and say, Mr. Butler, I know I have an agreement with you, but Mr. Speid is also trying to acquire the property. If you don't call him by name, but say someone else is trying to acquire the property as well. You understand? Was he transparent between the two individuals? Did he tell Mr. Speid that he already have an agreement with somebody else? And did he tell Mr. Butler that him already have is now having an agreement, somebody else is now interested in purchasing the property? Was he transparent between the two individuals? Because being transparent, if he's transparent between Mr. Butler and Mr. Speid, then I think that would have given Mr. Butler some heads up that, listen, somebody is trying to swoop in and acquire the property. So close it up as soon as is possible, or make an additional offer to prevent that second party from coming in and acquiring the property. So that is important, and we can't overlook that. All right? Let us go now to another set of questions, because I have a list of questions that I write down here. Right? I approach this from that viewpoint. Now, here's the next question now that we want to ask. Now that assuming that Mr. Speid follow all the legal channel in acquiring the property, and there's nothing that Mr. Butler can do to prevent him from finally or fully acquire the property, to overturn that purchase. Here's the next question. Can Chapelton Maroon truly feel at home if a rival club owns the venue? Because we know that Chapelton Maroon is based in Chapelton. Turner's Oval is based in Chapelton. How would Chapelton Maroon feel knowing that a rival team is now occupying the venue that you once called home? how would the team feel knowing that you have to play your home matches away from the venue that you are used to, and the rival club is now using that venue in your backyard as their home match? How would they feel from that? Right? And it's the next question after them. How will the community feel from that? What is going through the minds of the community? Because remember, there's a certain level of pride that would come with the community in terms of having a team, having a stadium within their community that they can go to their own, to the stadium and support their own team. Right? That sense of pride is cannot be understated. Right? Now, so here's the thing now. So if Mr. Speid acquires the property and use it for his home base for one of his team, will the community feel comfortable to go out and support that team, knowing that it's a team that is not even from the community? Would they feel robbed? How would that in turn affect Mr. Speid in terms of the support that he is not getting? So if you have a stadium that is state of the art and you're having matches and then, you're not getting the support from the community. So even if you have people from other parishes coming to support the games, but when you don't have the support from the community, that's a different vibe, that's a different feeling. Because remember, it's your community that will actually look out for the stadium when you are not around, right? So when they refuse to support you because they feel robbed, they feel like, you cheat them of something that they hold close to their heart, something that they believe in, something, a sense of pride. That sense of pride is no longer there. So we have to have these questions and these concerns, right? Because the community will feel robbed. That, listen, we have this team and we have this stadium and we have everything going and we can look forward to every Sunday we go out and support the team. But that's not the case anymore. So even if Mr. Speid starts using it every Sunday, do you have that support where the community will come out and support you, that the team that is playing it, that is not their home team, right? That's another question of concern. So here is the other part of it as another question that comes up. And this is from Mr. Butler standpoint. So he mentioned that he had spent $7 million to purchase a player from Cavalier. Here's the question I'm asking. When buying the player, do you think that it is a strategic move to spend $7 million on a player as opposed to adding that $7 million towards the purchasing of the property? Which you think makes sense in this instance? Should he have waited for another opportunity to buy a player, knowing that he need to close the deal for this property? Should he have placed that $7 million on the property instead of buying a player? You think that it would have been more strategic for him to spend the $7 million on the stadium as opposed to a single player, right? And it's his decision, it's his car. But in hindsight, you think he should have done that? Which you think would have made more sense? Spending $7 million on a player, on a single player, right? Or spending the $7 million on the property to close off things, knowing that the property, if it develops and it is yours, now you can do whatever you want with it. The income generation will eventually come, and then you can purchase players in the future, more than one player. Is this player worth spending the $7 million and as opposed to spending the $7 million on the property? Right? Those are questions. Those are logical questions. We don't have the in a position to say which one him should spend it on. It's his club. He decided how he wants to run his club. But we're just asking these questions. Right? Now, the next question is, the reporter asked Mr. Speid if there's a possibility for rental, if he is willing to rent the facility. And Mr. Speid response was, any form of rental has to go through the club CEO and not him. Right? So, is he being disingenuous by not wanting to deal, not wanting to talk to Mr. Butler if he wants to rent the property to continue to use it as his own team? Because we know that the two don't see eye to eye. Is he trying to make things difficult? Or is he trying to say, okay, all right, we have a channel where this is how it operates? That anything that has to do with the rental of the property, etc., has to go through the CEO. You understand? And if it goes through this, if it goes through the CEO, will the CEO be willing to rent the property, seeing that is a rival who wants to rent the property? You understand? These are questions, these are concerns that I am having. You understand? That I think should be asked coming out of these two reports from both sides. Right? Now, here's another thing that we want to ask. He said that was Mr. Butler genuinely close to closing the property? Because that is what he says, he was close to closing the property. Is that true? Was he genuine, or was he just feeling hurt and just saying things? Because, I mean, if he was close to closing the property and the property owner just decided that, listen, I'm going here, the others, what would cause the property owner to sway if the man was that close to closing the property? Right? So there are some things that are happening behind the scene that we're not aware of that, I mean, can lead to this drastic turn, change of heart from the owner to not closing the deal with Mr. Butler and move to Mr. Speid. Did Mr. Speid offer more? Did Mr. Speid offer full payment? And the property owner said, I'm not going to wait and pay him on a payment plan. May I get a full offer right now for the property? So I'm going to go with that. You understand? So these are some of the questions that we are asking. Right? Now, if Mr. Butler did not have a legal binding contract in terms of purchasing the property, that begs the question, shouldn't he have secured a more legal thing that offers more protection that will ensure that nobody don't come in behind the back and swoop in and take the property? Right? That is assuming that he didn't have a legal binding contract that will offer him more protection. If that's the case, shouldn't he have done that? Shouldn't he have taken that approach? I mean, these are businessmen, right? So those are some of the questions that we need to ask. Now, and the final one I want to ask is that Mr. Butler made a suggestion that he's willing to coexist, which I think is a good thing, a gentleman approach, right? But can these two individuals coexist? Can these two teams coexist? Because if that's the case, that the two teams will coexist, there can be future problems in terms of scheduling appointment. Who gets to use it for home match? Who gets to use it for training each day? You understand? So these are some of the questions that I am asking. Once I read the articles from both sides, those are the questions that comes to my mind. And these are the questions that I don't know if we'll ever get answers to these questions. But these questions will determine what really happened behind the scene and who have the legal right to own the property now, or can the court overturn the purchase by Mr. Speid and allow Mr. Butler to come to close off the purchase, or does it allow Mr. Speid to keep the property because there wasn't any legal binding agreement between the owner and Mr. Butler to purchase the property that will allow him that will allow the owner not to look to a new buyer if a new offer comes in, right? But it is interesting, and one thing I can guarantee you, what I know about these two individuals, it's not going to be the end of the story. So all we can do is to wait and see what happens, how it plays out, and what the final verdict will be. But for me, It doesn't matter what the final verdict is going to be. I don't know if there's a win-win situation in this. And that is where I am disappointed, because whichever way you take it, a team will suffer. If Mr. Craig Butler don't get the chance to purchase the property, then the Chapelton Maroon would be back at square one. Would be back to where they were 2 years ago without a home field. And I believe that the community will have lost as well. So it's not just the Chapelton Maroon team that would be at a loss, but also the community. Because they wouldn't get the chance to see their home team playing in their home stadium. Right? So, on the other hand, if Mr. Speid doesn't get to close out the property, doesn't get the court overturn it, then I know many persons will be saying that, boy, we lose the opportunity to see a state-of-the-art stadium in Jamaica with all those amenities. I know that is something that we look forward to as well. You understand? So I don't see a win-win. But one thing I would want is for this thing to be finalized, and if we can come to a general consensus. The most ideal thing it looks like now is coexisting. And even coexisting can have future problems, future concern, given how these two individuals are against each other. But let me know. That's it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. What additional questions do you have? What additional concerns do you have with this situation? And how you think this is going to play out? Alright? Again, thanks for staying with me. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Blessings. I'm out.